The Monsters are the best entertainment in the land. Great promotion, affordable tickets. Cleveland Monsters Hockey is the perfect outing for any family with reoccurring games like 1, 2, 3 Fridays, Monster Family Days, Blue Jackets games, and giveaway nights. There's something for everyone at Rocket Arena when the goal horn sounds. This time, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman Night, presented by GE Lightning with the Cleveland Monsters. Celebrate Superman tomorrow, December 30th at 6:30 p.m. with Monsters Hockey as they take the ice in Clark Kent. Warm-ups and Superman-inspired game jerseys. The first 2,500 kids, 14 and under, get a Superman cape. Tickets are on sale now, so fly on over to clevelandmonsters.com. Cam Robinson got a lot of hate in the Super Chats yesterday, and we're at that point because, Jason, the point you were making. Continue.
So, Mike, what was the topic on Cam? Was it a mistake, or do you ding Barry for trading for him?
Yes.
Okay, well, it wasn't that they traded for Cam. There's nobody out there. Like, you're not going to get a left tackle in the middle of the season, or right tackle for that matter. Anybody who's any good is not available.
Yeah, you're not upgrading that
so
position.
Your triage, you're wrapping the head wound at that point. It's triage. The mistake came in the offseason when they didn't do anything to address the issue, when they knew what a glaring need it was going to be. When you're counting on Dawand Jones and Jack Conklin, two dudes that haven't stayed healthy ever, when you're counting on them to be your tackles and you don't address the position, that's where the blame lies, not the fact that they brought – Cam was the best they could do. Now he's awful. He's terrible. No one's going to say he's any good. But they were trying to – I mean, again, you're choosing between a gunshot wound and a stab wound. Which one do you want? You got to pick one of them. You got to get somebody. They went and got Cam. That's not where the problem was. The problem was you're never going to fill all your holes in one offseason. But to completely ignore the tackle spot and, frankly, the guard spot as well – in that draft, and I mean, they did sign Tevin Jenkins in free agency.
Jay, as much as I am advocating
that is
for the draft,
dereliction of duty that they didn't address the tackle
and
spot.
I'll throw something else in there. Wide receiver. We went through a draft. We drafted 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah, but we're talking about the line now.
But I know we are, but like it's still roster construction.
Yes.
Horrible. And the fact that the line was not addressed, as much as I love this draft, what were our 2 biggest needs going into the draft? And we didn't address either one, yet we drafted 2 running backs and 2 quarterbacks.
Hey, quarterback was a pretty big need going into the draft.
It was.
Yeah, but he didn't draft any until the 3rd round, and he sucks.
The ledger speaks for itself. And I'm going to tell you this. G. Bush, keep it real. I'm going to keep it a buck. I've been pounding on the concrete for 3 years about the O-line. Go back and rewind the tape.
And wide receiver.
We all
have.
So he don't get no pass for that. Like, Jed Wills was a bust. That is a top 10 pick you missed on. That is a bust. And when you don't get a guy to the next move, right? And you don't get when you draft somebody in the 1st round and he don't get a second contract, that hurts you, bro.
He's hurt. I'm not saying he was a great player.
No, I'm just saying.
But he's hurt.
That's why he's not playing.
But it was top 10 is a bust.
He's a bust.
Yeah.
Receivers,
from where he was taken,
the Anthony Shorts, the David Bells of the world, all of the guys.
Gave him a 2nd-round pick for Elijah Moore.
That didn't work. You gonna get L's for those. You gonna have to hold them L's. Like, so for me, no, he don't get no pass for them. I've been talking about the offensive line from get-go. We just now seen a Zach Zenner emergence. He's been a healthy scratch all year. So he don't get no credit for that. So if you want to look at his resume, part of what his resume is, you got this year where he got some hits, and I think it was a really nice class. But also, you can't run from the fact that, guess what? You do got some misses up front. And the offensive line is terrible right now. Now, Jason did say, which is correct, that you can't fix it all in one offseason. So guess what? You're going to have the he will be judged if he is staying, and that's up to Jimmy Haslam. If he's staying, he will be judged not on this class. He's going to be judged on this upcoming class.
Oh, it's a make or break.
And let me tell you something.
100%.
He's not only going to have to hit. He hit on these ones. He's going to have to hit on these ones. And he's going to have massive jumps in terms of the guys who we drafted last year to be impact. Because I already done told you, if they do keep him, there is going to be a limit on wins. If he is staying, he's the last guy. He outlived everybody. He outlived Deshaun Watson, D. Podesta, Stefanski, Alex Van Pelt, all the coordinators. He'll be the last one standing. If you thought they got 4 or 5 wins this year and it wasn't good enough, he's going to have to get 7, 8 wins next year.
Jay, you
7, 8.
properly pointed out earlier that Jimmy may not trust himself.
I don't think he does.
To go out and replace Kevin Stefanski with someone better. The same thing can be said as general manager.
100%.
Do we really want to bring in a general manager to draft for the first time ever next year?
Brand new and a new coach? I'm cool.
I'm not ready for that.
And by the way,
So you'd rather keep a guy whose track record in 6 years is terrible.
Who's trending up. That's
Which-
the old,
which
like,
is-
Bull, if this year's class was a flop, get him out of here.
Jay.
But I don't trust Jimmy to bring in who's he going to bring in? A first-time GM?
Why does that have to be a first-time GM?
Because that's what he does.
I mean,
Who has he ever brought in that's had experience? He's got to
Dorsey.
be the alpha.
Dorsey.
He brought it, yeah.
Okay, well, how long did that last? Dorsey flexed his muscle and his ass was out of here too.
The best
Dorsey.
players on the team are still the guys Dorsey
Jimmy's
drafted.
got to be the alpha.
Although Dorsey blew it by drafting Baker.
I don't think that's true, actually. I think Jimmy is so desperate at this point.
You think he's ready to check the ego?
Yeah.
I hope so.
I do.
That's our only
But the
hope,
problem
guys.
is the reputation. Like, it's only 1 of 32. You're going to find somebody. Somebody's going to take this job.
They always will.
And it just because somebody's your first choice doesn't mean it was the right choice. But I just think the top candidates, and again, that doesn't mean that they're going to be the right guys, but the top candidates don't want anything to do with this organization.
agree with that.
Here's the major chess piece. If Jimmy Haslam, and we don't know this, if Jimmy Haslam believes that Shedeur Sanders is his quarterback for next year, that means by default, Andrew Berry is already back.
I don't agree with that. I mean, you might be right. I don't think that should be.
I'm just going back. I'm just
Yeah.
going back. I'm just showing you. If he feels like, if you think about it, if he feels like, oh, because we're speculating on whether Shedeur did enough, whether we saw enough. If Jimmy Haslam believes that he has enough and he's seen enough, that means Andrew Berry has the running back of the future, the tight end who's a playmaker, who has a defensive rookie year, and potentially found a quarterback that Jimmy Haslam likes. Then it's all that we talking about nothing here.
To this point,
Yeah, I agree with that, G.
to this point, in 6 years, he has not added one single quarterback, quarterback, wide receiver, or offensive lineman to this roster that he
Amari
had to,
Cooper had some success.
that he had that wasn't already a proven player.
Yeah.
Like we already knew Amari Cooper was good, right? He is not.
That was one of his better trades.
They have not done. I mean, the offensive line when he took over, the offensive line was good.
It was great.
Now it's terrible.
Awful.
All right. Everything. The team is worse, way worse than when he took over.
That's a fact.
So
Well, I don't think you can argue
He
that.
gets a thumbs up for this draft. Now, how high the thumbs up is, we'll have to see. Depends how good
Yeah.
Mason Graham is. Depends how good Judkins is. Okay.
Yeah.
And it may turn out to be a great draft, but ultimately, the most important positions: quarterback, wide receiver, left tackle, defensive end. No, if Shedeur pans out, then okay. But if he doesn't, and you settle none of those most important things with this big win draft.
Now, I will give him Alex Wright. I think Alex Wright was a hit in the third round.
No, but I was saying on offense.
Well, okay, yeah. I think
So the
I-
offensive line and the roster construction is an issue. Now, granted, he was handcuffed with no first-round picks. He lost 6 picks just to get Deshaun Watson, value picks.
Yep.
But again, we don't really know how to distribute blame because I don't know that he was driving the bus. You're right. Someone had to come up with the idea. I hope someone writes the book one day. I hope it's you, Jay. I want
I
the autopsy.
have no more books in me.
I want the autopsy on what in the hell.
if we're going to play
happened.
the speculation game and say, well, I don't know if he's to blame, then I'm not giving him credit for this draft.
You can't. Well, no, I give him credit for this draft.
Why would he get credit for this draft and get no blame for
Well,
the
I've
other?
Because
said before,
DePodesta's
I've
gone.
been pretty.
Well, DePodesta was here for the draft.
He was here, but I've been pretty much on record as saying, and I hope we can track this down legitimately. And there's one person within the organization that I have hopes of confirming what I'm about to say. I've said it on this show before. I think this year was a bit of an experiment for the Browns. And I think that DePodesta was somewhat neutered in terms of a voice in the draft room coming into this year. And I hope we can prove that and find that out from someone within that was inside the organization at the time. I think Paul saw the writing on the wall, particularly when this draft class was a good one and he had less input.
Yeah, but how would you know, Jay, that he had less input this year? You can't back that up with any facts.
Because if he had the input, he's still
Bull, you're right. I can't. I hope to be able to do that soon.
Okay.
So I think you know who I'm talking about.
If I knew for a fact that Andrew Berry had no say before this year.
No. I'm not saying he had no say. I'm saying that I think the loudest voice in the room used to be Paul DePodesta. I think that changed this year.
I don't-
Jimmy will know if that's true.
I don't personally buy that. If I knew that was true, then it would change my opinion, certainly.
Right.
But I'm not buying that. I'm not buying
Well,
that.
it just seems odd that when they get the draft right, DePodesta leaves.
That's the thing.
He had been trying to leave for a while.
Because I think he saw the writing on the wall. And I'm not going to say he got neutered. I'm just thinking that even if it was the equal voice of Andrew Berry and DePodesta, I think DePodesta was the loudest voice in the world in the room for the draft. I think he was the chief strategy officer. He's the guy. And I do think this year there was a change in the pecking order. And when the draft was a hit, DePodesta said, I better get while I can. And he ran.
Do you buy that at all?
I think that I think his power was actually sapped before this year.
Possible.
Possible. I think it was a couple years that he has not been very powerful in that organization.
Possible.
The one thing we understand is that it's whoever has the king's ear. You know, it's what have you done late for me? Kevin Stefanski lasted a long time because he was coach of the year twice. He lasted more than anybody because he had the cachet. DePodesta was here. He outlasted Dorsey. Then Dorsey came in. He made the wrong decision. Then AB, listen. It's what have you done for me lately? And right now, for better or worse, if you look at the track record, and I'm gonna do it and say I don't really want to start all the way over. I'm gonna look who did me the best job and what I got. I got one dude right here who did look like he got some players and made a hit. But I also have a coach right here that's in charge of the offense that has not been very good for 2 years. And I'm just figuring out what I need to do. If you don't want to start all the way over, then you say, what have you done for me lately? You go with the guy who done made the decent picks. And by the way, that's not for long. It's not like if they bring Andrew Berry back, he can't get Shadow Realm next year.
If you make decisions based on what have you done for me lately, I think that's a losing philosophy.
Well, that's the NFL.
It absolutely is.
That is the NFL.
And that's why I think I talked about this last week. Because I've had a lot of conversations about ownership in different sports, and the one thing that keeps coming back over and over is good owners are there when you need them the most, and they're in the weeds when everything's going well.
Yeah.
You're behind the curtain when it's going well, and when it's hitting the fan, good owners are there when you need them the most, and good owners hang in there. And I'm not saying one way or the other on this instance. I'm speaking in general terms. When you believe in who you have, even when every fan and every media member is screaming, he's got to go, the good owners have the guts and the discipline to hang in there and say, we have the right people, we've made mistakes, it's going to be okay. What did Miami do when LeBron left? Nothing.
Yeah.
They changed nothing. Right. What did San Antonio do when all those guys retired? Nothing. They changed nothing. Good organizations stay the course.
Yeah.
And they fight through the bad. Now, again, I'm not saying
there are bad organizations that stay the course too. The Bengals, the Cowboys, they stay the course.
When the Bengals finally decided to stay the course, because they were us, they were wash, rinse, repeat, fire, hire, fire, hire. I was fascinated looking from a distance that Marvin Lewis was finally let go because he couldn't win in the playoffs. They stuck with him. He got them to the playoffs a lot.
But they stuck with him way too long, and they've stuck with Zach Taylor way too long.
Ultimately, you could be right. But again, if you're going to stick with someone for that long. And I gave the Bengals a lot of credit. That's not Mike Brown's way. They decided that, you know what? Yeah, we're losing in the first round of the playoffs, but we're in the playoffs, and compared to the neighborhood we've normally lived in, that's pretty good.
I think if you look at it, would you agree that Jimmy Haslam has been more patient as he's owned the team?
100%.
Yes.
Sure. Yep.
I've made that. He extended Hugh after 1-31. Like, he had the reputation early on of firing guys, and Chud lasted a year and out. They don't want to fight. That's why I said earlier, they're looking for every reason not to fire people because they know what their reputation is. They've tried really hard to change it, and they're craving that sort of stability. Now, obviously, the results have to be there, obviously.
Sure.
He for a while, does not want to fire people.
Yeah, and firing a coach and a general manager is step one of a process.
Right.
Maybe that's the right call. But does he have faith in himself to go out and find the coach that's going to be better than Kevin Stefanski and find the general manager that's going to be better than Andrew Berry?
In my opinion, the bar's not that high.
No, it's not, but he could screw this up. Here's what didn't work for the Browns. Changing all of it a lot.
But it's not a lot. At this point, it's been 6 years.
No, I know, but early on in his tenure, it was change.
It's a difference between somebody getting a divorce and they 35. When you 52, that's a whole nother ball game.
Why? Because the drawing pool shrinks.
The drawing pool shrinks. You got to get on the internet. You got to get a dating profile. You don't even know the new lingo.
And you've been out of the game.
You've been out the game. You're like, listen, I'm gonna just go ahead and go to counseling.
Speaking of which, my wife,
great analogy,
one of my wife's really close friends, who I've become good friends with over the years, is on some dating. She mentioned to my wife that she was on some dating app because she's single, in her 40s, and I didn't even know what the heck it was. Like, I've never used a dating app in my life.
Can you imagine having to go on a first date?
No. It's awful.
Oh my God.
What are you talking? I'm not doing it. I'm
It's
cool.
rough in them streets, kids.
The streets don't play with you. So I can understand if Jimmy is a little and listen, Jimmy, by the way, he just trying to get, that's why I be trying to, Jimmy's just trying to get to the, look, he is not a spring chicken. He's trying to get to that little stadium and relieve this stress. Like, you think I'm going to be in here in the weeds and I'm in my 70s?
Well, I don't know. He's still in the weeds now.
That's a great analogy.
The
dating game is a great
I'm not
analogy,
dating.
man.
I'm not,
we talk about like the roster's in worse shape than when they took over. That's indisputable. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
And I just like these are questions that can never be answered. We'll never get the answers. It's the sliding doors theory. I maintain, and I know we haven't talked Baker yet. I know there's the Browns.
overtime.
The Browns' assessment on Baker was spot on. They got it right. Their solution was catastrophic.
That is correct.
But their
But
original,
CJ, that's part of it.
But
part of
their
the game. You
can't
original,
separate the two.
But their original looking at him and going, is he really worth $300 million? Can we really win a Super Bowl with him? No, we can't. We have to figure something out. Yeah. Now, what they chose obviously wrecked the organization. But how much different would they be if they did pay him, even though he's not good enough?
Right.
But would we be having this conversation if they had the ones, if they had the picks, if they weren't in cap hell?
Right, we don't know.
Would we be sitting here saying
Jay,
Andrew Berry's done a terrible job? This roster.
We'll never know.
We'll never have the answer to it.
That's the exact analogy to bring up in this scenario. And that's why I said this is a two-part process. This isn't as simple as firing these guys. The Browns made the choice to move on from Baker. I get that. But you better bring someone in that's at least his caliber. And
they thought they were.
And they thought they were.
And the numbers said that they were, but the mental was shot.
Did not work.
And then the injuries
so that's
on top
what I'm saying. Like, the Baker thing was made worse for the Browns, not just because, he's gone on to win division titles. That doesn't matter. We only care about our silo. And our life in our silo has been markedly worse.
Yeah.
Now, that's why I bring up this is a two-part process. Okay. You got to make the decision to fire the coach and the general manager. Now, a lot more difficult, go replace them with better substitutes. They have not been able to do that. They couldn't do it with Baker, and I'm not sure they would be able to do it with Stefanski and Andrew Berry.
You said maybe Andrew Berry has gotten better. Maybe Jimmy Haslam will get better. I don't same thing.
Listen, it's my sincere hope that he does. You know why? We're stuck with him.
That's true.
Yeah.
We are, as an organization, stuck
Got no
with
choice.
Jimmy
Can't fire
Haslam.
the owner.
So I have to get to tomorrow, the mental gymnastics I do is this. Maybe he's going to figure it out. I have friends that are Cowboys fans.
Ooh.
You talk about, because we never won Super Bowls. They went from Super Bowl being part of their regular lexicon to they can't win a playoff game.
No.
And it's because of their owner and his constant intervention and constantly thinking he knows more than he does.
Oh, he's actually the GM.
So he is the GM. So the only way I can get myself to think about next year and 27 and 29 in the new stadium is to think that our owner is going to improve.
You gotta hope. And
it's got to get better.
Yeah. By the way, before we get to Super Chats, Mike, let's say we owe congratulations to Baker Mayfield, who we just talked about.